Good morning, campers. This is Crusader Rabbit KBNY 5962 starting our broadcasting day. And today, for your viewer enjoyment, we're going to bring you an unboxing video, or you could think of it as my First Leica version 2. As my First Leica version 1 was about my Leica 3F black dial, that when I put a roll of film through it, I was noticing that the shutter was not fully opening up. It was making some nice images. Oh, kind of got a little water spot there. Maybe I shouldn't rinse after photo flow so much. But you can kind of see how sometimes all the time the shutter is not opening all the way, and sometimes it's open more than other times. So I was getting kind of like half images, like I'm in a Pen F or something like that. So yeah, so this was the issue when I ran a roll of film through my Leica 3F black dial. So I had purchased my Leica 3F from a reputable camera store, the brick and mortar store, also has an online presence, and they were saying that this camera is fully functional, other than the fact that it has a dim rangefinder, and I didn't think the rangefinder was all that dim. I actually really loved the rangefinder, but some of the speeds, especially some of the lower speeds, were very inaccurate, and then the shutter speed wasn't opening all the way up. So I don't know how they got the condition of that wrong, but I contacted them and they set up an exchange for me, and they sent me this one instead. So we'll get Crusader Rabbit's special opening tool here, and we'll get right to opening up my Leica, expecting this to be a Leica 3F. So we shall see. We shall see if it is indeed Leica 3F. There we go. And I think we can, yeah. I usually use a knife with a gut hook. I'm going to do my gut hook down, and I couldn't find my knife with the gut hook. Remember, kids, never cut towards yourselves. Little Crusader Rabbit safety little that looked like a little magazine from the reputable online camera store. We'll shield you from that. And as we open up here, even more. Oh gosh, right. Okay. I'll extract this from the box. There's some stuff down at the bottom of the box there, but I think that's just... let's put that over there. Okay. So somewhere in here, there's a supposedly Leica 3F black dial. Oh, getting some of the bubble wrap with the tape. Well, I guess that's just the way that's going to play out. There we go. I'm going to attach there. Getting closer here. Starting to look like a camera. So there we go. Let's see, it's my First Leica. Put this packing material in the box that it came in case we have a repeat and we have to send this back. First peat and then repeat. So we have fairly attractive looking camera there. The shutter curtain looks really nice. Let's before we get any further, why don't we take and put a body cap on that. So you can see Leica and the serial number. Wetzlar, Germany. I should look up on a map and see exactly where Wetzlar is. I've heard that there's no W sound in German. Maybe somebody could tell me if that's true or not. And that W's are pronounced more like V's. Wetzlar instead of Wetzlar, as we would probably say. So let's see if I cock the shutter. Well, the shutter does seem to be operating. The camera is constructed such that when you take a picture, you can see your shutter dial move. Kind of like really glary. If I go down further, is it? Can you still read that? Anyway. See the shutter dial moving there as I both cock the shutter and release the shutter. So it's currently set at about 1/100th of a second, or it's set at 1/1000th of a second. And when I release it, it's at like 1/100th of a second. And when you set the shutter, a new shutter speed, you actually want to have the shutter cocked. First of all, so that you're setting the right shutter speed. Like if I go down to a 500th of a second. And then also, because I think you can mess up the internal gearing if you actually change the shutter speed without the shutter cocked. So that's sounding pretty good. If we go down to a 200th of a second here, how does that sound? That's sounding pretty good. So if we go down to 100th of a second, that's also sounding pretty good. So if we go down to a 60th of a second, okay, let's go down to a 40th of a second. Okay, it's starting to sound a little slower. Okay. So that sounds good. Let's go down to a 30th of a second. And when we go down to a 30th of a second, we actually transfer control to the second dial down here, the dial on the face. And it's kind of locked there at like a 30th. So this is what a 30th, it's already set on a 30th, if you can see there, right? So the 30 is in red. I think the 30 might also be the, I'm not sure if that's the max flash sync speed or not. But it is at 30th of a second, so let's go ahead and give that a try. Definitely sounds slower and accurate. Well, that didn't sound right. Yeah, see, that's not working properly. It's kind of working like properly every other time. Well, it worked right that time. So let's try a different slow shutter speed. Let's try like a 20th of a second. You can press this in and kind of, well, I guess we could go to like a 15th of a second or a 30th of a second. That sounds right. Okay, let's go down to a 10th of a second. So if we do this, remove the body cap, we can probably take a look and see if it looks like the shutter is clearing. And that does. And if I go to the B setting, I'm going to return this to a 30th. It kind of snaps into place there, a little dentent. If I go to the, I'm cocked, if I go to the B setting, this should completely open, and it does. The other shutter was not doing that. The other shutter was only opening like halfway. That looks good. So it looked like the only speed that was kind of misbehaving sometimes was a 30th of a second. Everything else seemed about right. What if we go back to a 30th of a second and then try some of the really slow speeds? Like a half a second. Put our body cap back on. Okay, it's a half a second. 1 Mississippi. It's a little slow. 1 Mississippi. Let's try 1 second. We can move this to 1. 1 second. 1 Mississippi. 1 Mississippi. That's pretty close. 1 Mississippi. Might be a little slow. Overall, that's pretty darn close. Okay, let's return this back to a 30th of a second. And kind of hits a stop there. There's a little nub in there. It kind of, there's like a little detent there. And it's like a little lock, and you just have to kind of depress it to be able to move it to the other speeds. And let's try that 30th of a second again. That seemed to work fine. So let's move it back to a more normal speed, 100th of a second. I'm pretty happy. It looks like they sent me a fairly nice replacement. So bottom's like a little scratched up. Bottom, he said. bottom. Kind of looks like there was a mark there left by a tripod and some scratching on the bottom. The leatherette vulcanite looks like it's in really nice shape. I can't see anything missing on it. Camera looks pretty nice and clean. There's some bubbling of the, maybe it's pitting on the back here. The top looks very clean. Maybe a little bit of dirt in there. Maybe some again some pitting, but then again, this is probably what, 75 years old? Is this like a 75-year-old camera? Probably made around 1950 sometime. Pretty happy. So I think that's going to be the end of this video, and we're going to take and shoot a roll of film with this, and then maybe we'll go ahead and include it at the end of this video so you can see what that looks like. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. This is Crusader Rabbit, KBNY 5962, ending our broadcasting day. Good night, campers.